Hello, my name is Sudha Sadanand and a very warm welcome to India Ahead Digital. You know, even as the year comes to an end, it is certainly not my intent to highlight the North-South divide, but clearly to indicate how the south of India does very well when it comes to certain indicators. It is better governed, one can say. Now, all this is based on clear empirical evidence. This is not something which has come out of my head. So let's take a look at where the South does better than North India. First indicator, less violence, less anti-minority sentiment, better educational facilities, better cleanliness, better health infrastructure. So overall, the south of India is better governed and administered than north of India. If you look at economic development, which is very crucial for the overall development of a state or states, South India yet again aces it when compared to North India. Let's take the example of the largest populated state in the south of India, and that being Tamil Nadu. And if you compare it with the largest state in North India, which is Uttar Pradesh, you can go to online statistics and it will prove that so far as per capita income is concerned, there is a huge gap. Can you guess the gap? It is 300% even as we speak. And this robust economic development in the southern states hasn't come out of a hat. There are important factors which add to this economic development. So the first is better technical education, which is a fact in the southern states. Number two is better electricity generation. And the third, which is very, very crucial for economic development, better roads and overall infrastructure. According to several experts, economic development is not possible unless you have very, very strong human indicators. And there again, in south of India, if you look at it, three factors which add to its human indicators, which is number one, there is better female literacy. Kerala is just an example for you. Number two, better life expectancy. And third and most important is less infant mortality. So far, so good. Many of you may ask me, all that is fine. The southern states are doing much better when it comes to several indicators and parameters. But what about politics? Without politics, a democracy is not vibrant. And for a democracy to be vibrant, we need a very, very strong and empowered opposition. Why is there a perception that only the north of India decides who shall rule New Delhi? Well, I'm no psephologist who can make election predictions, but make no mistakes. There are some major tectonic shifts which are taking place in the south of India, which shall decide the future course of action so far as Indian politics is concerned. Let's take a look at some of them. First up, Tamil Nadu, which is the largest populous state in the southern of India. The DMK, that is the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam under M.K. Stalin, is aggressively standing up for its federal polity. You know that they refuse to call the centre as centre, which is Madhya Arasu in Tamil, and instead refers to the centre as the union, which is Ondriya Arasu. It is the DMK under M.K. Stalin which stood up and asked the central dispensation certain questions. Why not enough vaccines for Tamil Nadu? Why is there GST on fuel? What about the national education policy which imposes Hindi on Tamil Nadu, etc., etc.? And we all know that M.K. Stalin came to power after 10 long years, and he is going to be a very, very decisive factor in so far as anti-Modi forces are concerned in the next year. Along with Tamil Nadu, there is no doubt that Kerala is yet another state which is going to be a very tough nut for the BJP to crack. It is tried, but it has failed each time. If you look at the last assembly elections, BJP got 0 seats, but make no mistake, it got a very, very decent vote share. The Congress lost the election for the second consecutive year, but broke the tradition of changing the government every 5 years. Now let's look at the Chief Minister, that is Pinarayi Vijayan. Yes, during the second wave of COVID, he did not do as well. There was a lot of criticism because Kerala just could not control the COVID numbers. But if you look at his overall governance, then he is remembered as a chief minister who managed to control Nipah, who managed to control the first wave of COVID, putting Kerala on a world map of how COVID should be managed, and also the gold smuggling case. Yes, it was a bit of a scandal, but it was to Pinarayi Vijayan's success that he could see that it was hushed up. So for the BJP, it's going to be very, very tough to make any kind of a change in Kerala, although the RSS apparently is doing its level best to see to it that there is some bit of a change. In the next year, Pinarayi Vijayan will also perhaps join with the other southern states to emerge as an anti-Modi force. Yet another state in the south of India with very, very strong regional moorings is Andhra Pradesh. Its Chief Minister, Jagan Mohan Reddy, won the elections by going on a padayatra, walking miles and miles and reminding people of the rule of his father, Rajasekhara Reddy. In the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, the BJP got 0 seats out of the 25 seats, and later in the assembly elections too, the YSRCP under Jagan Mohan Reddy swept the elections with 151 votes. Yes, there has been criticism for Jagan Mohan Reddy, and the main criticism has been that he is anti-Hindu, which was proven when many temples across Andhra Pradesh were vandalized. The TDP and the BJP got together to see to it that they create a kind of an impression that here is a chief minister who does not care for the majority of his people. But then the TDP and the BJP have little social or electoral capital. As of today, Jagan Mohan Reddy still reigns as a chief minister who is very, very popular. And the best thing about Jagan Mohan Reddy is that he also keeps the Modi government at the center very happy. So a kind of a balancing act, but he is ensuring that he wins the next elections for sure. Let's turn our focus to Karnataka, the only state in South India which has a BJP government. But with the central leadership taking most of the decisions, it remains to be seen whether Karnataka can keep its basic kernel of being a BJP state intact. You know, the recent ouster, and some would say very, very ignominious ouster of Yediyurappa, is something that several Kannadigas will not forget. So there is constant central leadership interference. But does that really matter in politics? Then of course came Basavaraj Bommai, who has basic socialist moorings. He came, he took over after Yediyurappa, but faced several challenges. There were these small and very loud rebellions from within his own cabinet. But with the tabling of the anti-conversion bill and the central leadership reiterating that Basavaraj Bommai will be the face of a chief minister in 2023, does Basavaraj Bommai have a lot to fear? Yes, because there are murmurs that there could be a leadership change, although the central leadership is very clear that there will be no change, and they can't really afford to change a chief minister right now unless they go to elections in 2023. Now, Basavaraj Bommai will emerge a winner unless the Congress puts its house in order. There is this constant battle between D.K. Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah, which is all out in the open. And so far as the JDS is concerned, we've seen recently how H.D. Kumaraswamy has swung from right to left to left to right, unable to make up his mind where he really wants to go. So if Basavaraj Bommai emerges as the chief minister in 2023, even as he makes his preparations next year, then he is going to make the central leadership very, very proud. So going forward, Basavaraj Bommai is going to really concentrate on the elections in his state and also emerge as a very, very important pillar for the Modi government as a representative from south of India. Let's look at Telangana under KCR, that is K. Chandrasekhar Rao. Now, Telangana has proven to be a fertile ground for the BJP. If you look at amongst all the other southern states, Karnataka, of course, has a BJP government. But the point is that if you look at all the election wins of the BJP in recent times, whether it is Dupakka, whether it is Huzurabad, whether it is GHMC, and of course the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, how do I look at K. Chandrasekhar Rao, the Chief Minister of Telangana, in the coming year? Now let's look at a bit of history. So far as the BJP is concerned, it has had a good run, in Telangana. It won 4 seats in the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, and also all the recent elections and by-polls, whether it was Dubakka, whether it was GHMC or Huzurabad, the BJP really did very well. Initially, we saw how KCR was cozying up to Narendra Modi, coming and meeting the Prime Minister and also his cabinet several times. But the paddy procurement issue actually broke that great friendship between KCR and Prime Minister Modi, and it is all out in the open. Now KCR is blazing all guns when it comes to Modi. He recently went and met Muka Stalin also in Tamil Nadu, and apparently there was talk about creating a kind of a federal body which can stand up to Narendra Modi in the coming years. In 2023, KCR Garu will be facing anti-incumbency because he shall have been in power for a decade. But make no mistake, the BJP is not watching quietly. Under Bandi Sanjay and also CT Ravi, they see to it that every time the TRS goofs up on any kind of a policy or makes a mistake, they jump, and there is very, very aggressive exchange of words. But today, if you look at K. Chandrasekhar Rao, he looks as if he shall be a very, very important part of this anti-Modi force in the next couple of years. But then KCR is also known to change his mind very often. So we shall wait and see which side the wind blows. Indian politics has very, very interesting terminologies. One of them happens to be kingmakers, a person or a group of people who decide who the king shall be, and often these people who are hidden behind a curtain are more important. They have better roles to play than the king himself. So I ask you this: if we South Indians, if we are better when it comes to several indicators, be it economic development, health index, infrastructure, literacy, less violence, less corruption, all this, then what stops the South Indians from being kings themselves? In this country, we keep speaking about that there is no credible opposition. But if all these chief ministers of South India get together, then I'm sure that it will be a very, very robust anti-Modi front, and which is so exciting for any democracy.